All right, and now here is your host, Tim Polly.
Thank you, Sean Kelly, our producer for the show, and has done such a wonderful job, time in and time out. And the studios is so comfortable to be working in here, and just a pleasure and a privilege to have him. Thanks, Sean. And we're welcoming you back to another edition of Testimonies. I'm your host, Tim Polly, and we thank you for listening. We thank you for all the followers from the first show that we had after we had talked with Darren McBee, the American Gladiator. Again, that ESPN segment is coming on soon. Well, he'll be headlining that when the original American Gladiators were famous and they were on TV regularly, and ESPN is doing a complete story on them, and Darren's going to be one of those headline shows. So watch out for the ESPN 30 for 30 segment on the American Gladiators. I'm sure he'll appreciate that, and I would as well. Today's a special guest. We'll get to Rhino Michaels soon, but before we do, I wanted to kind of throw a few things, a few thoughts your way. And since we last talked, a lot of people have watched and observed and listened and have thrown their areas of interest to me. It's so encouraging. I'm praising all of you out there who have talked with me on a regular basis and communicated about the show and the concept and how it's uplifted you. I've had high school people that have come back that I haven't seen or heard from in years that have said, Tim, we're so excited and such a pleasure to have you on. You've inspired us, and so many of the stories that you talked about in your show have made us feel like we weren't alone, and that we have brought ourselves to new heights. And again, it was inspiring how God has really worked with this show, and my heart's sincere about that. And as I see people in the gym, they've come up to me, and one of the things in the gym is I have really noticed, and I wanted to share with you today, and it was on a personal and an emotional level, is that no matter how attractive you think you might be, physically attractive, mentally attractive, intellectually, all of the above, none of that can match when you are spiritually attractive. And when that Holy Spirit comes into your heart and it starts to shine through, you don't have to explain who you are ever to anyone. They seem to come up to you and they're attracted to you. And all those other areas of what the world notices as far as physical attractions and mental and intellect and all of that, they all seem to be enhanced just by that Holy Spirit that comes into you. And it's the most attractive thing you can have. And I'm not ashamed, and I say it time in and time out, that the working force behind Tim Polly is Jesus Christ. And that has been my inspiration, and it excites me each and every day. And knowing that I'm a part of something right now with this show has really made me feel fulfilled. And as a ministry, we can use this show to go out and reach others that aren't feeling as well. And that if we can inspire you, and if we are looking at you and talking with you, and that Holy Spirit shines through, then so be it. And I just thank God for that each and every day. So thank you, Lord, for that. And we're going to have an exciting show today with another guest. And as we bring him on, I'll give you a little bit of a background on him. We had breakfast together probably about 10 years ago, and it was down in Hollywood. He's been in the entertainment industry for years. He is a special person, a person who's gone through some struggles himself, a person that will share those struggles with you today and hope to inspire you as well. He has stood in the world's eyes, he has stood in for some of the major actors that you would recognize as far as being a stand-in double for a stuntman, for some famous people, including the name, who I enjoy, I have to admit, I'm a big fan of Steven Seagal. And Ryan Rhino Michaels is the person who has stood in for him and been a part of that. And he's done it for many others. And he has been an actor in the entertainment industry and a stuntman and director of stunts for many, many pictures that you have seen, and has been a part of the entertainment industry for a number of years. I'm proud to, again, call him a friend and a brother, and we're looking forward to having him on. So let's bring him on now. Ryan Rhino Michaels, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of this today.
Well, that's my pleasure, Tim. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We can start back to what we said as we talked a little bit before the show started. And you had said there was a little catch on how the word rhino and the name Rhino got into your list. And we talked about it. And I want you to share that with the audience today. And as we call you that, because I think that's what you prefer to be called today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a name I can't really get away from. I tried to for a minute. I received my first Best Male Dramatic Actor Award on stage from Dramalog and Maddie for playing the racist cop Burke in original play called Central Avenue at the Fountain Theater. I also got my equity card from that. We ran sold out for over a year. It was such a huge play about racism and just an amazing part. Anyway, after that, we were going to do Tennessee Williams' Milk Train Doesn't Stop Here Anymore. And Rhino Michaels starring in Milk Train just looked weird on the marquee. So I thought I would be like all the other great actors and have 3 names, like Daniel Day-Lewis. So it was going to be Ryan Barry Michaels, which is my real middle name. And for a year, nobody called me, basically. It was nobody who knew who the hell Ryan Barry Michaels was, even though they'd have the picture right in their hands. So I went back to Rhino. But it came about in football. I played for Westfield 1969 and 1970. We were the undefeated New Jersey state champions. And
New Jersey, right?
When I got the ball, I used to love running through people rather than around them. Mm-hmm. So Go Ryan, Go Rhino became Go Rhino, Go Rhino.
Wow.
Demolition Man was my first big starring bad guy role. It was Wesley Snipes, Jesse the Body Ventura, myself, Billy Lucas, and Ben Duran. We were the 5 bad guys cast in Demolition Man. And the casting director said, I heard you have an interesting nickname. I says, Rhino? She says, yeah. Use Rhino Michaels. Nobody will ever forget it.
Wow.
And damned if she wasn't right. There's only one Rhino in Hollywood.
Yes.
I got to plug some more power in here.
No problem.
All right. There we go. Now we're good.
No problem. You know, so you ran like Zonka. You ran like Larry Zonka, basically.
I just love hitting people, you know, on the line. I grew up in Jersey. I called it Jersey football. You would get down in your 3-point stance as a tight end. You know, I was a wide receiver, tight end, offensively, and the guy would line right up on you. And that first play, I would bring this forearm right up under his chin. Boom, like that, hard. Damned if he didn't give me an extra 6 inches to the right or the left next time we lined up. So, yeah. And I came from the generation of playing football where there was no concussions. Coach Kaler taught us butt and rake. 2 men running at each other at full speed. I would put my face in your numbers, wrap my arms around you, and stand up through you, hopefully forcing you to fumble the ball. Wow. Of course, what hits first is your face.
Sure.
Into the chest plate of a man. You know, you just figure 200 pounds going either way.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that was where we played football. We didn't have Gatorade. We had water and salt pills, you know.
Salt pills, yeah.
I don't want to hear it from any of you sissy football players today with all your pads.
Well, it's the same way we treat our producer here. When Sean gets out of line, we just give him a Coke lock under the chin, and then he seems to make everything, you know,
work. Usually straightens him right up, yeah.
You know, my son and I had exactly the conversation you're talking about right now. We had it yesterday. We were talking about how people don't really pay attention to concussions back when I played at all. And now we have to take courses as a coach now. Currently, I have to take courses all the time. They're online, and you take them to enlighten your knowledge about how to recognize a concussion. And they take it so serious now. And any slight sign whatsoever, you got to pull the guy out. You have to check them out. They have to make x-rayed before they can even partake back into the sport again. I was talking to my son specifically on that, how we didn't pay attention to that at all. I said, I looked at him, I said, son, I go, Christian, I think I've had about 20 concussions. I swear to you, I've had in my career, and I didn't even realize it. No one cared. No one really cared at the point. So now it's really taken serious now. Really taken serious.
It should be too. I mean, it's a very combative sport, you know, and when the adrenaline gets going and the hero in you takes over, you're going to make that big play.
Sure.
It's just the way it is. But, it was good. Good times.
Hey, the athletic part of it was something you planned on, but you then told me that soon, I think it was about age 25, something turned the corner for you, that you went into the entertainment area. I mean, you were planning on playing sports, weren't you? I mean, was that your career goal? Was that what you wanted to do?
Yeah. When I started going to college, I fell into a job selling hope chest items, which is a concept that's gone away. But back in my youth, especially where I grew up in New Jersey, people would put stuff in their hope chests for when they got married. They'd start putting, china, their crystal, what have you. Anyway, I rose to very good heights in that business. Then the business went to Florida, and I got into real estate sales when the big Pocono land boom was on. And it was a lot of business breakfast, business lunches, business dinners. No one trusted you unless you drank with them. And I found myself on my 25th birthday at my mother's house for my birthday party in New Jersey. I was living in New York at the time. And I don't know what possessed me to step on the bathroom scale, but it went past 300 and stopped on 2. I was 302 freaking pounds. And my mind, I didn't have a big gut. I was just got bigger all over, you know?
Sure.
And my mind said, if you don't lose this weight now, you're never going to lose it. And it wasn't for acting or modeling. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I mean, never. I'd done some stage and growing up in school. I liked it. I was one of the best rock drummers in Jersey. Sat in with Springsteen, the Asbury Park Jukes, a bunch of bands like that. But that was all in the past. And anyway, I saw skis that weren't being used and road bikes that weren't being used, and just in general, in my mind, just what happened to you? So about a year and a few months later, I had dropped 120 pounds. And I said, okay, you can make $100,000 a year in sales and marketing, but look what it did to you. What do you really want to do with your life? And I said, it's either music or theater. Music, I still have my drum set. That just touring with a band, it's just so much work. But I liked being on stage. So I thought, let's go and audition at Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg in New York. They were both alive at the time. And see if we even have the talent to get in. And first place was Lee. And I not only got in, I got offered a scholarship. At that point, I found a place a little, this is going to kill you, New Yorkers. I had the top floor of a brownstone on Park Avenue South between 25th and 26th. Granted, when I rented it, it had a plywood door with springs on it. Literally, it was the storage room for a discount dress store that got out of business on the second floor. But it was a great space. And I came from a construction background. And I told the landlord, Nick DeCinius, who had the coffee shop, Aristotle Coffee Shop, I said, give me a long lease at a price I can afford, and I will completely build this place out, and you'll be left with a magnificent edifice when I leave. So I got that place for $350 a month on a 5-year lease, going to $450 in the next 5 and $550 in the next 5. And the day I brought all my brothers and sisters in to clear it out, had no idea what we're going to do with all this stuff up there. Con Edison was kind enough to have put a dumpster literally right in front of my building, because they were going to start digging up the street the next day. So we took these big 4-foot by 5-foot windows out, and I put one of my sisters on the street. It wasn't too busy on a Saturday afternoon, and we're literally throwing everything out the window into this dumpster. We cleared that floor out in about 15 minutes.
Oh, man.
Then Con Ed was nice enough, and I've had to make amends for this in sobriety, to leave 18-foot planks of wood across the street, which raised my living room floor nicely and built the wall for the bedroom and the bathroom. And I had my top floor of my brownstone with exclusive use of the roof. In New York City, in 1980, for $350 a month. I have no idea what that would rent for today.
Wow.
When I moved out here, I sold my lease back to my landlord for $75,000. He tried to break it 3 times in L.A. courts, and they just kept throwing him out because I wrote the lease.
Wow.
And I had 5 real estate licenses from when I sold real estate in Pocono. So I hammed them in pretty good.
That's good. Boy, that went from one direction to another right there, brother.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't it? I have had to make some amends for my less than Christian past.
Let's get some of the meat and potatoes now.
Okay.
A lot of people want to hear about obviously the motion picture part of it, of which you've stood in for some of the most famous people. And I raised one of the biggest names, and I enjoyed every one of his movies. I still watch him to this day. Steven Seagal. How did that come about? Was it an audition, or was it something?
Actually, I started doing the live action shows up at Universal Studios. That's where I got my stunt training. First show was Miami Vice. Second show was Wild Wild West. And I was training to be the double swordsman in the Conan show, where, as we know, Darren McD was Conan when they closed that show. So that's where I got my basic. Anyway, Tier Turner was one of our tubs in the Miami Vice, and he was working on the Seagal film, the one with the, I can't remember, Marked for Death.
Okay.
And they were going to do a big car crash. They're going to drive a BMW through a window of a big department store, and they're going to do, you know, go up on the sidewalk. And he said, "Look, I can get you in there as a featured extra, and maybe if you get close enough to getting hit by the car, we can get you your an upgrade." Okay. So that's when I first met Jeff Dashnow, who was his stunt double from Under Siege, and started to be his stunt coordinator. And I met Mr. Seagal, and I remember him walking away. And I said in my mind, I'm going to stunt double him someday. So a couple of years later, Jeff Dashnow and Steven had their falling out, and I heard about it. So the day I heard about it, I had all my hair was one length back then, a big ponytail, sure, clean shaven, tan, put on a black suit, black shirt, and I went over to Warner Brothers. And back then, you could walk on the lot. This is pre 9/11, pre COVID. And you could just say, "I'm going to go see the stunt coordinator at Under Siege 2." And they say, "Fine." That was it. Didn't need a pass. Just that was it. So I walk in the building, and everyone's starting like, "Steven's here. Steven's here. Steven's here." And I just walked in to the first person that looked, you know, authoritative. I said, "Hi, I'm Rhino Michaels. I'm hoping to see the stunt coordinator, Dick Zeicher, or Steve Perry, your UPM." Throw my hat in the ring. And that's what I did. I threw my hat in the ring. And I ended up winning the day, getting to double him. And it turned out to be one of those jobs. There's certain things as a kid you always want to do. And like a helicopter left off the train, running on top of trains, hanging on the side of trains. I grew up with the trains literally running through my backyard in Jersey. 4 lines of trains, freight trains, whatever. We used to hop them all the time, take them to Pennsylvania, hopefully catch a train back. There were a few occasions when I'd call Mom and say, "Mom, we're stuck in Allentown," or someplace like that. So anyway, we get the job, and for a week, we're up in Vail, Colorado. I got up there early because I needed to do some high mountain training. I ski out there. I know at 14,000 feet, you need more oxygen. So we finally get around to the first week. They bring the train up from Denver. Warner Brothers actually bought the train, and originally we're going to actually wreck the train. They had a bridge in Oregon that needed to get blown up, so they're going to blow up the bridge and set the train down here. Mr. Seagal kind of ran the budget way out of control with some of his behavior on that, and they just did it in miniature. But yeah, that was one of the fun ones. I remember, however, our first week there, he refused to cut his ponytail. Warner Brothers was $100 million domestic, Under Siege, no ponytail. Hopefully $100 million domestic, Under Siege 2, no ponytail. And he's saying, "I'm out of the Navy. It's 5 years later. I have my restaurant. I'm going to have a ponytail." So the first week, we're shooting around him. Didn't shoot a scene with Mr. Seagal. And as per his contract, they flew him up to his ranch in Montana that weekend. They flew him back that weekend. On Monday, he comes walking in. I'm standing there with Joel Kramer, Dick Zeicher, Henry Kinchy, and we're just having coffee. And he walks past me with the haircut you see in the movie, and he's laughing. And I turned to Z, our stunt coordinator, and says, "Why is he laughing?" He says, "Because we got to cut your ponytail." And I said, "So?" Like in my mind, so no big deal. Cut the ponytail. 3 months in Vail. Stunt double the biggest star in the world. Right. Cut the ponytail. I didn't say that. Right. It was here. Right. He said, "So we're going to give you $5,000 for your ponytail today." Stunt adjustment. So I said, "Cut it." So that day, they had me running crawling out of the window onto the top of the train, running the length of the train, jumping onto the engine, and starting that whole sequence in there. And I keep coming back as we're rewinding the train to match footage with a big shit-eating smile on my face. And Dick Zeicher keeps saying, "Will you quit coming back smiling? I'm trying to get you more money, and you look like the Cheshire Cat." I said, "This is a lot of fun." He said, "Shut up. Look scared or something."
I remember that scene very well. I remember.
Can't look scared. I did this when I was a kid. Now you're paying me for it.
Oh, I gotta say this. I gotta say this out loud because it's an inspiration to a lot of young potential actors that want to go out there. What you did is exactly what my heart likes to do, but not a lot of people are courageous enough to do it. but you put on the areas of which you looked exactly like Seagal. You knew you felt you looked like Seagal. You walked right onto the lot. You walked right up to the guy and you acted like this is something I already own, and you did, and you ended up getting the role. And it's something that
it's the
persistency is incredible with that. That's a great story. That's a great
in
story.
my life. I've always been a bit of a showman. You in the stunt world, I was competing against stunt associations where your members, you try and hire your members first. Right. Understandable. Right. Nepotism, where your father, your uncle, or somebody has been in it, so they're going to push their talent. And we didn't really have the World Wide Web like we do today. So, but I was still competing against just about every stuntman in the world to get that job. Sure. And it was one of the most rewarding, both financially and professionally. I made it almost to the end of the film before I had my run-in with him. And
it happens with quite a few, I understand. Yep.
Yeah. Stars should put up a list of who they're screwing behind their wives' back on the set, so we don't ask them out on dates. Okay, let's just
that's all we need to say. That's it.
There it is. Right.
That's all you need to say, and I understand it completely. Now I want to get to an area now that's important to you, and you and I have already discussed this, and it's an upcoming film that you have been a part of, and you're not sure when they're going to let it launch to the public, but I want you to discuss that because I know it's something you're very proud of, and we want you to be able to.
I worked with Zach Daly. He's with the Brogan agency, same agency I am, and he wrote this brilliant script, and it's basically about a guy and his girl, and there's a thing called bath salts that a lot of kids use to get high. Well, she takes a bath in them and somehow comes out a zombie, and my character is the world's greatest doomsday prepper, and they follow me online. And when I find out about this potential zombie, which could potentially infect the whole planet, I've decided to save the planet. And it's really comical. They just did from what I understand, we picture wrapped 2 years ago, but with COVID and everything, getting in to do the color and the sound and the music and all that took them a while. But I understand last month it just got wrapped up. So I'm looking forward to that. I love comedy. I do a lot of bad guys.
Tell me the title of the film again. The title of the film.
It should be called Prep Z, PREPZ.
And do we have an idea of when we're gonna bring it out? Did they say
they're supposed to be shopping it, to Amazon and places like that for their sale. But George McGuire was in it. He played my father, George. Absolutely amazing, talented actor. Zach Daly was wonderful opposite me. But it was one of those hit the ground running things. They had cast another actor. I never auditioned for it as the character, and he just wasn't bringing it. I don't know all the details more than that, and I won't disparage him by putting his name out there. But my agent called me and said, "Listen, there's this film. I think you'd be perfect for it. Would you work for this amount of money?" And I said, "Well, if it's for you, I'll do it." And we hit the ground running. Next day, I had 7 pages of dialogue and a fight scene with Zach. Wow! So literally hit the ground running.
Well, let's pay attention to that, and our audience, I hope, takes advantage of that and sees you in it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it too, and be part of the premiere. I hope be part of the premiere.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I told them they should do a little bit of thing, especially since the theaters now were at least renting their space very reasonably.
Sure.
Yeah. I enjoy comedy. If it wasn't for Gordon Pott, who had a funnier name than I did, I probably would have been voted class clown in junior high school. I've always had a wicked sense of humor. I've guest starred on Cheers. I had a recurring on Sister Sister, and Skippy the Mechanic. Only person that understood Skippy was Tim Reed, the owner of the limousine. I was a limousine mechanic. And I'm going to talk to you. That's how he talked, And Tim understood exactly what I was saying. It was a great part.
I got to tell you,
I enjoy comedy.
To my father's dismay, I did win the Class Clown Award for the junior high, and then I graduated that to my high school in Arcadia, California, and I got the Class Clown Award for that too. So to my father's dismay, but it still got me to the areas I'm at now. So I'm still proud of all that.
Yeah,
I love humor.
Comedians rock.
Rhino, I love humor as well. I just want to thank you so much for being a part of today. And I hope this is one of many, and we bring you back some other time, and we get you in the studio. I know we're via satellite today, and this is how people are doing everything nowadays.
Yeah.
But it still worked out wonderfully, and I got to see Bear. You're here.
Yeah, you got to meet the bear. He keeps me stable. My faith keeps me stable. It's one of the things we should talk about next time is faith.
Keep talking. Tell me where you're at right now in regards to your faith, and tell me where.
I went through Betty Ford in 1996. That was my own choice. Never had DUIs, anything like that. It was just that my dear friend Robin Williams, who we lost a few years ago, said, "Cocaine's God's way of telling you you're making too much money." And it was just part of my social scene. I was at opening night of Studio 54, ended up in the back room with Ian Schrager and Steve Rubell. A kilo of pink Peruvian Ether Wash mother of pearls put on the table and smashed and put in front of me and said, "Here, try this stuff. It's amazing." So I took my perfectly, manicured and buffed the nail and went like that. And I was ready to go on tour with the Rolling Stones. But I was always very professional. Monday through Friday, I worked, ran out, et cetera, et cetera. But on the weekends, you would party. And it was, yay, I got a film, let's party, because I got to stay completely sober when I'm working. And yay, I finished the film. And the lines were just starting to get blurred. So one Christmas, watching the three tenors singing beautiful Christmas arias from Rome, I did a small calculation of what I'd spent that week, and I could have flown to Rome, first class, bought an Armani tux with a woman, and been in the front row and spent less. And living at the beach and not going to the beach, looking at mountain bikes and road bikes and not using them, just made me realize I needed some help. Anyway, when I checked myself in and went through that, it's not an easy path. Everybody thinks 30 days and you come out fine. That's what I thought. I came back, auditioned for Ivan Reitman's Father's Day. I got a chance to work with my old buddy, Robin Williams from New York and Billy Crystal. And when they wrapped me, it was after 2 nights of shooting in a big club downtown, where I threw him off the stage and did the headbutt scene with Billy and a few other things. And they gave me my per diem money in cash. 2 weeks of per diem money, because technically I was still in Palm Springs. So they put me in a hotel and gave me per diem. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, downtown LA, they hand me about $3,600 and said, "Picture Rapper Rhino, hey!" And what do we do when we finish? A picture. We party. And where was I? Downtown with $3,600 in cash. 2 days later, I called Betty Ford back up. I said, that sober living might be a good idea for me for a while, and just step back from the business and start figuring out my triggers. Anyway, one of my things that saved me was my faith. The people that actually took care of my 3 dogs, I had mother, brother, sister, Wolfie, Bear, and Eddie, were, I believe, put in that alley by God. It was Nick and Sally Pike. He worked for Qantas Airlines, and they were opening up a new venue of Qantas here in LA, and they had looked and rented other places, and last minute for some reason they said, "No, we need to be here." And the back of my house backed up to their house, and they could see me getting worse, and they could see the drug dealers coming and going at all hours of the day. And one day we had a heart-to-heart, because they would put food on my doorstep, cooked meals and stuff. And I was returning stuff one day to them, and they said, I talked to them. I said, "Listen, I've been on the phone. I've got the insurance. I just have no place to put my dogs." And they said, "Why don't you go to the men's Bible study tonight? We've already been talking about this, and see if we come up with something." And they had already decided to, in one of the church members' backyards, where they were going to build a fence, and they were going to take care of my dogs so I could go to Betty Ford. So I closed up that beach house, put everything in public storage. Actually, not public storage. I put it in their garage. And they took the dogs, and every weekend, you know what driving to Palm Springs is like on a Sunday? Back and forth. Nick and Sally would come to visit me on that day, and we would pray. Anyway, when I got out and I started getting on my feet, as per the Bible, you have to come to God again of your own free will. Now, I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I was almost an altar boy, baptized, first communion, confirmation, all of that. But you literally have to come of your own fruition to God again. And so my parents wouldn't come see me at Betty Ford. My dad wouldn't pick up the phone for a while when I called. Or if he happened to answer the phone before he knew it was me, he'd just hand it to my mother. So for them to come up for this, I was going to get born again event at the church meant a lot to me. And they had a big jacuzzi kind of thing on the altar where, in the white robe, myself and Dave Schlotthauer, who was my sponsor, so to speak, were there. And they dunked me and came back, and I was born anew again. Ironically, or possibly because of that day, the pastor selected the Bible story of can't remember the story now. The son who goes away and comes back, and the prodigal son, right? The prodigal son, and afterwards, I had a lot of friends there from Gold's Gym and Stunt World and stuff. But my dad came up to me and he took off one of his gold bracelets and he put it on me. He said, "I know this will never end up in a pawn shop. I know you won't smoke this, son."
Wow.
And it was the beginning of the healing, between me and my father and changing my ways.
Sure.
But I tell you, there was nights on my hands and knees crying, begging to God to please give me the strength to put this shit down and get my life together.
Amen.
And it was only through my faith and moments of him putting people like Sally and Nick Pike in my backyard. Two Australians had no idea what drugs and alcohol abuse were like, freshly married here in a strange land. They should have been living somewhere else. He put them right there. That was the beginning of my recovery and a renewal of my faith.
That's a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Rhino, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. That summed up the whole show right there. That's a caption right there. Yeah. From the beginning to the end to where you are today and how God's continued to bless you, and being a part of the show today has been a very special moment for me, and I hope for the rest of the audience as well. But thanks for being a part of this. We'll be in touch soon, and I hope to have you on, like I said, one of many, and I look forward to seeing you live in person.
Good thing.
Too. You bet.
Drag that old man, Darren McBee, up here to Hollywood, and I'll take you guys out to lunch.
I'm looking forward to it again, and we'll do the same thing we did.
All right.
Thank you, Rhino. So on behalf of Testimonies, we'd like to thank the people that make this possible today. The Weston Companies is the sole sponsor of the show and has put this on the air. And because of them, we are here today, and we're privileged to say they're a part of this. For producer Sean Kelly, I can't say enough about that individual and what he has done to market the show and put it out there, and to be part of his studio is something special as well. But again, for Testimonies, it's Tim Pauly reminding you that don't let the facts in life cancel out your faith. Just continue to move forward, continue to be who you are. And again, what I mentioned in the beginning of the show today, start to let your spirit shine through, and everything else will be enhanced. For Testimonies, it's Tim Pauly. Good night.
Hi, Tim.
Thanks, brother. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon. Okay, bud.
Okay, good deal. Bye-bye.